Let's go ahead and get started. This class is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube later today. Throughout the semester, I am going to be recording every live lecture. I used to record them only when students miss class, but they actually said, even for here, can we please have them? So I just record every class. They will be posted on YouTube, which I find to be far more accessible than Panopto. I'll post them in the assignments. I have a YouTube channel called Joe Perfetti, and basically that's where you can access the videos for every class that we do. I'm going to do this class a little bit out of order, basically because one of your assignments is to become Bloomberg certified, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, but I want to actually show people how to do Bloomberg certification so that people in the other classes can watch this video to start learning and start the Bloomberg certification process. Okay, so basically Bloomberg certification of what's called Bloomberg Professional is called BMC, Bloomberg Market Concepts. It's the name for their certification. You have to be certified in Bloomberg as part of this class. The certification is an assignment which is due for all sections of this class right here by Friday, February 9th. Okay? It's very important because the class is going to heavily rely on Bloomberg. Okay? So if you're not aware of Bloomberg before, Bloomberg was created by a guy named Michael Bloomberg, former mayor of New York. It's why he's a billionaire. He started the software in the 1980s. It was called a terminal because it was originally done on almost looked like a calculator, a mini computer. All the bond firms at the time, Salomon Brothers, etc., basically said, we need a common clearinghouse for data, for trading, and a database to store all of our transactions. Bloomberg volunteered to do that. It became so successful that the firms moved that to equity, to currencies, commodities, etc. And so Bloomberg since then has become the standard on Wall Street. It has 340,000 users. You have to pay $25,000 per user per year as a subscription for the base price. Prices go up from there, but it is the pro tool. So if you work at Goldman Sachs, you work at JP Morgan, you work at BlackRock, this is the software on your desk today, you live in it. It's got 1.4 million securities, real-time data anywhere in the world. It's got 36,000 screens. It's a trading platform, it's a news and information platform, it's very powerful. Nobody knows how to use the whole thing. You'll probably learn 20 screens this semester, but nonetheless, you get a job at one of the Wall Street firms, day one, they're gonna ask you to get Bloomberg certified. You're going to have a leg up because you're going to get certified this semester. It's a real-world certification, but since we're going to be relying so heavily on the tool this semester, everybody has to get certified. So there's two ways to get certified with BMC. One is through the tool itself. The other is online, okay? Since you're not going to have access to the tool outside of this classroom, you're going to be doing the certification online. To access the certification online, it's called Bloomberg Market Concepts. You'll go to this website, portal.bloombergforeducation.com/register. It's in the homework assignment for BMC. You'll click on it, and it'll bring you to the portal, which you'll have a screen where you will sign up. Okay, you're going to sign up as what's called a learner, not the professor, and the first thing it's going to ask you is for an email address. This part is very important. You have to use a umd.edu email address. Okay. You have two. Mine is perfetti@umd.edu. I also have perfetti@terpmail.umd.edu. Use one of those two addresses, right? Don't use a Gmail address. Don't use a Yahoo address. Here's why. If you use a UMD email address, the certification through the online site is free. If you use a non-UMD email address, it's going to charge you $149. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd like free. So it's only free if you use a UMD email address. Bloomberg has specifically set that up for us at this university. Other universities, their students had to pay the $149. So take advantage of that. Basically, put in your UMD email address. It's going to basically say University of Maryland, select it, okay, that you found that that's your university. And then I believe this is the password. You'll choose a password and then your name. Okay, and then you'll click sign up. I'm not a robot. Okay, once you're signed up, I'm already signed up. You're Perfetti as a professor. this again. Professor, there we go. Oh, let's go back here. Home. Log in. You'll log in. Okay. Once you've signed up, it'll bring you to the screen. Once you log in, you'll come back to the screen. This is the area for the certification. All right. Up in the top row, there's a menu. Under the menu, it's called certificates. Okay. They actually have a couple of different things that you can get certified in through Bloomberg. So for example, they have an ESG certificate. They have a finance fundamentals certificate. You're welcome to do those. That's not required. The one that matters here is called Bloomberg Market Concepts. That's the certification for the tool, which is either called Bloomberg Professional or Bloomberg Terminal. Even though it's no longer a calculator, it's just software. The name has just lasted for the last 40 years. So long story short, you will start taking the Bloomberg Market Concepts certification. You'll click on it to start it. It'll remember your progress, so you don't have to do it all at once. When you get here, you're going to see, if you're done, you'll get a certificate of completion with the certification. It's a PDF. You can put it on your LinkedIn profile. You can put it on your resume. It actually will differentiate you from other students in the interviewing process. But I would recommend not putting the certificate on before you're certified, because people can check that. And if you go to an interview and they start asking you questions, they'll know whether you've taken the certification pretty darn quickly. Okay? But nonetheless, this is something a lot of other students will not have. All right? Now, certification is a series of online modules. Okay? There are 7 of them. But the ones with the blue badges are the ones that are required. The others are optional. I am only requiring the 4 with the blue badges. So to be certified, you have to take the economic indicator module. So basically the economics module. Sorry, a little mouse trouble here. You have to take the currency module, the fixed income module, and the equity module. Okay. Now I know we're not really dealing with currencies or fixed income, but it's part of the certification. So you got to take those 4 to become certified. Okay. Now down here, there are the optional modules: options, commodities, portfolio management. Not required. You're welcome to do them. And the one optional one you might want to consider is the terminal basics, because as I will show you later today as we preview the terminal, which is the software, basically it's very difficult to use. It's keyboard based, text based. It's not GUI interface. So if you're trying to go up the steep learning curve to use it, terminal basics can be helpful as well. But that's not required. It's those 4. Okay. When you click on one of the modules, like economic indicators, these are the sub-modules for the terminal. And you'll start. When you start,
the customary way to
there'll be a video.
The size and performance of any
there'll be video and
gross
readings.
domestic product.
After you watch the video, each of these little section, they'll then have a series of questions, multiple choice, true, false. Those questions are based on the video. If you don't watch the video, you're not going to get the multiple choice questions right. Okay? I have tried taking the tests that are in the modules without watching the videos. I fail every time. Okay? That is important because to be certified in this class, I have a higher standard than Bloomberg does. You have to get 70% or greater right for every module. Otherwise, we will not accept your certification. All right, Bloomberg will actually give you the certification for less than 70%. I will not accept that. 5% of your semester grade is completing all 4 of these modules with more than 70% correct. And I'm telling you, if you're right to the questions, you're not going to get them right. You're like randomly guess, because their questions are very ticky-tack. We said this in the 3rd minute of the video. What did we say? Okay, and that's what their questions are really based on. So you have to watch it. I also stress this because you can only take the test 1 time per account. And if you fail, you cannot take it over again. Okay? And if you fail and can't take it over again, you lose 5% of your semester grade. So the only way that you can handle that is that you can create a second account and retake it from scratch with a second account. Okay? Now, you have 2 emails with UMD. Okay? So I have perfetti@umd.edu. blumberg.edu. I blew the equity module. I need to retake it. perfetti.terpmail.umd.edu, create a second account. I only need to take the equity module again. I did well in the first three. Take that again, get more than 70%. Okay? If I screw that one up, I'm out of emails. Now I either have to pay $149 or beg a friend of mine to let me borrow their email account. Okay? That's not an ideal situation. So watch the videos, you're gonna pass the test. It's not that hard. Skip through it, you're gonna struggle. It's gonna take you somewhere between 6 and 8 hours to do this certification. You need to do this between now and February 9th. Okay, that's what I'm letting you know today. All right, it'll pick up where you left off, and it's browser based. So you can take this from the comfort of your own home, sitting on a couch, watching the videos, doing this, pick it up later, so you don't have to take them all at once. It'll remember your progress. When you are done, next to each of these modules and each of these badges, it will put a percentage score of once you finish the module. Okay? What you're going to have to do for your credit is you're going to have to shrink your screen so that all 4 modules show up. We'll take 2 screenshots and basically take a screenshot showing all 4 modules completed with greater than 70% for each of the 4. That's what you're going to turn in for your certification for this class. If you do that, you get 5 points. If you don't do that, you get 0 points, and there's no partial credit. Okay? Questions about the BMC certification? Hopefully pretty straightforward. As I said, you can start this today.
Are the questions so specific that you would suggest taking notes while we watch it, or is it just like a tutorial and you should
I'm telling you, as long as you're casually paying attention while listening it, you should be fine. But I'm telling you, it's like UMD has these, I gotta be careful because this is recorded on YouTube, these training videos that they make us watch for certain things, and they're created by the university people. It's similar to what the Bloomberg people do. Like if you kind of watch the video, you can answer the questions. But if you don't watch the video, then you're just randomly guessing the words that they have on the screen. That's the real problem with their test. And I talked to the Bloomberg people, it's like, why is it so ticky-tack? And what they basically told me is they said, look, we just want people to watch the videos. Because that's the point. Like watching the videos is actually helpful because it teaches you how to use the software and shows you what the software can do. That's more important to them. And that's the other point. That's why I have 70%, because I want you to pay attention to the videos, not just skip through them. But regardless, this is BMC certification. Take it online. Use a umd.edu email. The part that I did skip over is when you put in your umd.edu email, it's going to bring you to a second screen, and it's going to ask to confirm your payment. If you put this umd.edu email in, the payment amount is 0. Okay? If you don't use a umd.edu email, when you get to that second screen, the payment amount's going to be $149, and they're going to want a credit card. Okay? So please use your UMD email. I don't want anybody to have to pay for this, because that's a privilege that they're giving us that they don't give other schools. All right, questions about the certification? Hopefully pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Is there a difference between using the Terpmail email or the UMD?
No, the only thing is the account is unique to that email address. So what will happen is you'll use your Terpmail email address. You'll log in later on your non-Terpmail address. You're like, why can't I get into my account? Because again, you have to use Terpmail every time. But the point is, it's just you create an account that's unique to your email address. So you can use, I have Perfetti at Gmail. I could use Perfetti at Gmail. But the problem is I'll have to pay $149 and I'll have to log in every time with that account. Any other questions? All right, so again, I just did this a little out of order. So for all the other sections, this is the beginning of what they needed to do for their certification. So now we're going to go through class overview, a little intro to the content and the terminals. All right, so syllabus. This is 443, equity analysis, Professor Perfetti. We have 182 people currently registered for this class. That means about 45 people per section, and this room was only meant to accommodate 32 people per section, so there's way too many people for this class size. So if some of you want to drop the class, please do so. Right? I'm hoping to scare a few people away today because there's clearly not enough terminals for the people in this room. And that's every section. I got 4 sections. Right? The classes are overloaded. All right? So essentially, this class, you're in the section 301. This is the 2 p.m. section. It runs consecutively from 11 a.m. through 3:30 p.m. So there's 11, 12:30, 2, and 3:30. Basically the same content repeated 4 times. The main reason we don't have a big lecture is because you really do need to use these terminals in order to do the work. All right, so there's a lot of work in this class. This is my email. This is my iPhone, cell phone. This is the lab, my office in the finance department where you'll never find me. And if you do need an appointment with me, by appointment for office hours. Okay. Now, this class does have 4 teaching assistants, and these are undergraduate TAs who have previously taken this class. So 2 of the TAs took the class last semester, 2 of the TAs took the class 2 semesters ago. So they were in your shoes. They did very well. They know the content. The TAs have 2 primary responsibilities. They will have office hours physically in my office, and then sometimes they'll want to have it in the lab itself. But basically, they'll have office hours. You can go to any of the TA's office hours for help, and they generally will have 2 hours on Thursday each or Friday, right? And the other thing is they will be the primary graders of your class, right? So they will grade all of your individual homework assignments and your Bloomberg certification. So if you have questions about your individual section grading, your TA assigned to your section is Logan Leary, okay? She's very nice, but again, if you're looking for help, you can go say, hey, I don't have time to see Logan at Thursday at 1 p.m. I can go earlier in the day, so you can go see Leslie in her office hours for help as well. And again, I specifically only have TAs that have taken this class before because the content is relatively unique and the other TAs would be useless. So these people can really help you. So take advantage of that as you go through this semester. Okay? The class itself is focused on equity analysis. I'm going to train you to think like a sell-side analyst. It will be divided into 4 overall sections. The first is called EIC. Okay? It stands for Economy, Industry, Company. The idea is 50% of the performance of any company is the external environment. It's the industry it's in. Okay? And so we're going to look at that external environment to understand performance and how that's going to change over time. The second part of the class will be historical. Okay? We use a textbook, McKinsey 7th edition valuation. Okay? If you have a previous edition, you've wasted your money. The 7th edition was completely rewritten. Okay? McKinsey has a very specific format for analyzing companies historically, tied to Modigliani Miller. I'm going to teach you that format. You'll find that it's a learning curve because it's like learning a new language, but once you learn it, you're going to find out it's a much more effective way of analyzing and benchmarking companies. That'll be the second section of the class. For those of you struggling, it'll be the hardest part of the class just because it's not GAAP, all right, it's not IFRS, it's Modigliani Miller. It's an economic format. And so we're going to convert statements into an economic format, analyze them, and reorganize them. It's something you're going to have to learn how to do. Okay? So that's the second section of the class. We do that to get to the third section of the class, where we do valuation models. We will build real-world enterprise DCF valuation models tied to Bloomberg. If you don't know Excel, by the end of the semester, you will know Excel. Okay? So we're going to do a lot of Excel modeling. It will take us 2 weeks to build the first Excel valuation model, which we will do together. Okay? You're going to build it yourself. It will take you 10 minutes to do company number 2. Okay? It's going to be tied to Bloomberg, so it actually will help you quickly value a company and understand what's going on. The fourth section of the class is called multiples or comparables. We'll do advanced multiple analysis tied to the DCF and benchmark against competitors and talk about how to analyze industries that way. So those are the 4 sections of the class over the next 14 weeks. All right, so it'll be a very busy class. In terms of expectations, you can read the syllabus, but I want to highlight a few things. I call this a hybrid class. Not every class is going to be a lecture. 2 reasons. 1, I had hand surgery, and I'll probably have to have a follow-up surgery. So at some point this semester, I might have to, for medical reasons, miss a class or 2. During that period of time, we might have a Zoom class, or we might have like watch a video or something like that. But most of the classes for lectures will be live. The other thing is we got way too many students for these Bloomberg terminals, and you're going to have to use the terminals to do most of your assignments. So there will be some days which I'll call Bloomberg lab days. So basically, instead of a lecture, from 11 to 5, the lab will be open and available for you to come in, get the data you need to be able to do your homework assignments. Okay, so those will also occur somewhat throughout the semester. Okay, this class will be taking attendance. anytime we have a live class starting next week, I will pass out an attendance sheet. If you don't sign the attendance sheet, it will be considered an unexcused absence. Okay? If you don't sign the attendance sheet, you come to me 3 weeks later and said, I should have signed the attendance sheet, I have no way to verify that, you're still going to have an unexcused absence. So when I pass the attendance sheet around, very important, sign the attendance sheet so I know that you were here. Okay? Now, there's a carrot attached to this. If you attend every class and only have one or less unexcused absence for the semester where we take attendance, you can potentially opt out of the final exam. If you have 2 or more unexcused absences, you have to take the final exam. Okay? So the attendance carrot is you don't have to take the final exam. I will also tell you the nature of the class. It's a lot of work. You'll do at least 1 homework assignment every week with the exception of spring break. You will do 5 group projects, 4 team presentations. You have a midterm exam, potential final exam, and you're going to have to get Bloomberg certified, which is another 8 hours of work. Okay? So this class involves a lot of work, and it's work every single week, and the work is cumulative. If you think that I want to take a class because I'm a second semester senior where it's like first day, last day, take the exams and not worry about anything else, this is not the class for you. Okay? So like when I was a senior at Penn and I was second semester, I'd finished all my credits for Wharton undergrad, I decided to take a class in Hitchcock. And the class was literally watching Hitchcock movies and talking about it. It was like the easiest, funnest gut class you could possibly take. Okay? That's not this class. Okay? This isn't the strategy class where you can get by and just write a couple things and get an A. It's a lot of work. Right? And if you don't want to do a lot of work, please drop the class. Right? Because I don't like failing people. Right? Because the way it works is that to some degree, the reason why I let people opt out of the final exam is that if you do all the work and you do it fairly well, I don't need to test you on the final exam to know the content. You're going to know the content and you're going to learn a lot. But if you don't put the effort in, you're not going to learn a lot. I think the reason why there's a lot of people here is you probably see that a lot of people get really good grades in this class. I think 70% or more probably get A's. Okay? And the grade distribution is usually 70% A's, 20% F's, C's and F's. Okay? And there's nobody in the middle. Very few B's. Okay? Maybe a B plus here or there. All right? And the reason why is because the people that do the work and work their butts off generally get A's. And the people that don't do the work and don't show up generally fail. Okay? And that's just very important. You should understand this. So if you're not willing to put in the work, this is not the class for you. And I'm letting you know in advance, it's a lot of work. The other thing I want to let you know in advance is at the end of the semester, you're going to be asked to fill out a course evaluation. It's very sad that you don't do that anymore for any courses at Smith. I think the average course evaluation now is like 15% completion. And the school's asking for 70%. So I don't know how to force you to do the evaluations, but I'm going to ask you to please do my evaluation. Now, last semester, I averaged 7 students out of 45 that filled out my evaluations. So I don't know if they show it to you, but I will tell you, I read those, see if I can get some feedback. And I took this as a badge of honor, but one of the students last semester called me a fair martinet. And I don't know if you've looked up what a martinet is, but it's basically like a benevolent dictator, okay? And they basically called Professor Perfetti the benevolent dictator for the class. And I take that as a badge of honor because here's the point. I'm going to treat you like an adult this semester, which means we enforce deadlines and we take them very seriously. So I'll give you a couple very important rules. If you turn in an assignment after a deadline, we're not grading it. I don't care what your excuse is. You're getting a 0. Not going to let you make it up. So don't even try. When that deadline passes, so for example, homework 1 is going to be due originally Monday. Now it's going to be Wednesday for a reason I'll tell you in a minute. But basically next Wednesday at 10 a.m. and you don't submit it by 10 a.m., the only way you're going to be able to submit is an email. And when you submit that email, we're not going to grade it. So submit by deadlines. Okay? Same thing with unexcused absences. If you don't show up for whatever reason, I'm not going to give you credit. Okay? So you're going to be unexcused. Now, you were in a car accident, you're in the hospital, you got COVID, there's a death in your family, okay. But otherwise, if your excuse was I got caught in traffic on 495 coming into school or I overslept or whatever, I don't care, right? Don't care what your excuse is. You're not going to get the ability to make up an assignment. You're not going to be able to do it. Team projects. You will do peer reviews on team projects. You will review every single one of your peers on every single one of your 5 team projects. If 2 or more peers say that you didn't participate in a team project, I will adjust your grade. If you don't participate in team projects, you're going to fail this class. A couple semesters ago, I said this, and 3 students didn't participate in the team projects, and their peers said they didn't participate in the team projects, and they failed the class. And they came to me at the end of the semester and they said, Professor Perfetti, we can't graduate. We are going to lose our jobs. You have to let this make it up. I said, no, I don't care. I told you up front, if you don't participate, you don't get credit, it's on you. I'm not the one who didn't show up for the entire semester. That's on you. That's the Martinet part of me. So I'm just telling you, if you don't want that, drop the class, get out. There's other people on the waiting list that would rather be here. So if you want to work, you want to put in the work, I'll do this. So here's the point. I told the TAs, right, and they've experienced this on the other side themselves. We will not do for one student what we will not do for every student, consistently and transparently. That applies to deadlines. So if I'm not going to let you make up the deadline, I'm not going to let somebody else make up the deadline. And if I had to give an excuse that allows you to make up the deadline, then I can't enforce the deadline for anybody else that I've enforced on. So we are going to be tough with these policies. So that's one of the policies that's very important. Participate in the team projects. Make sure you don't miss a deadline. Make sure that you show up, or you have a reason to not show up. Otherwise, you're going to be taking the final exam. And very importantly, if you need some accommodation, let me know. Rule number 2, we are flexible before deadlines. Okay? We are inflexible after deadlines. So for example, I had somebody who sent an email to me last night, said, today I have a super day, Professor Perfetti, that came up unexpectedly. I'm not going to be here. Is that okay? Sure, no problem. All right. Versus, hey, Professor Perfetti, I missed the last class because I was at a super day. Can I have an unexcused absence turned into excuse? No. Hope you did well at the super day. All right. So again, before deadlines, talk to us. Got an email from somebody else. Hey, I got a wedding that's the same day of the midterm exam. Is there a flexibility for me to take it at a different time? Yes, there is. All right. So again, talk to us before. I have an accommodation. I'm traveling for some school activity. I'm on a sports team. Don't tell us after the fact. Tell us before the fact. The TAs have been delegated the authority to also grant extensions, to also help you if you need with absence problems. So either myself or them. Our only other rule has to be in writing. Nothing verbal counts. So if you tell me that you talked to her TA, you talked to Logan, and she said I can have an extension, I'm going to say, where's the email? If I don't see the email, I don't care what was said. I'm not going to give you credit for it. So make sure it's in writing. We look at timestamps. Same thing with assignment deadlines. Elms is going to crash. You're going to have a technical problem, okay? So it's 10 a.m., I'm having trouble submitting, I'm panicking, I can't have the link. Send an email with the attachment, 10:03. Hey, Professor Perfetti, I tried to send this at 10 a.m., Elms wasn't working, here's my submission, I'm really sorry, here's the attachment. Okay, we'll consider that. Send it to me at 12 p.m.? No. Or better yet, I love this one. Hey, Professor Perfetti, I had trouble submitting the attachment at 10 a.m., no attachment. Okay, that's very suspicious, right? Why are you sending an email without the actual assignment? So yeah, we'll make a couple exceptions here and there, but basically we're going to do it consistently, and we're not going to let you make it up. The other thing that's going to be very important in terms of grading, okay? This is a finance class. This is not some casual strategy or marketing or leadership class where you can just sit there, say a bunch of bullshit, and get a bunch of credit. Also, we don't give credit for work. Everybody in this class works hard. So just because you worked hard doesn't mean you're going to get credit for an assignment. So last semester, we had a team project where a team set up for 10 minutes with an academically flawed data set that they were trying to spout off on that was just wrong. And I gave them a really poor grade, and they got really pissed off. And they're like, how could you give us a poor grade? We put a lot of effort into this presentation. And I was like, yes, but it was wrong. I'm not going to give you credit if you submit wrong stuff in a finance class. We don't work that way. So in this class, you have to get things right, or we're not going to give you credit. I don't care how many words you write. I don't care what you say. You got to get the right answer, right? But then the flip side is I will also make you start writing 500-word papers with most of your individual assignments, because I don't want you to just plug and chug. Because so many of you know how to solve an equation, but you have no idea what you're solving for, and you have no idea why you put the assumptions in that you did. Well, that's not helpful. So you're also going to have to explain why you did what you did. By the way, 500 words, 500 words. When the TAs open it up and they see 498 words, they're not going to grade it. You're going to get a 0. You're not going to get the chance to write it up. There is no partial credit. Okay? So That's another thing that's very important. Google Docs will screw you over, okay? Because Google Docs does an exaggerated word count on submissions. The standard we use that Elms uses is Microsoft Word or PDF, okay? And the reason I say that, I'll give you an example. In Google Docs, if you write in www.cnn.com, it treats that as 3 separate words. Anything with a dot or a hyphen, it considers a separate word, right? The other data services don't do that. Google happens to do that. So we've had situations where people have had like 520 words, but we open up in Word, it's like 470 words, and then they fail. And they're like, well, Google said, and so in the syllabus, it specifically says, we don't use Google Docs. And so again, you miss the word count, you get a 0, you won't get a chance to make up the assignment. Final thing is if you don't use numbers in this class, you will not get credit for assignments. Okay? You can't just say the industry is attractive. Okay. You could say attractive, unattractive. That's a coin flip, 50-50. That doesn't mean you're right, it just means you got lucky, right? You have to show me data that shows that you knew why it was attractive. You can't just say it's an attractive industry. So you got to use numbers to support what you say, both words and data together to get a correct answer. And so again, I'm just being really clear about the expectations. This is now being recorded on video, so when you complain later about this, there should be no ambiguity about why you're not getting credit. Look up Martinet. All right, a few other things. You will become Bloomberg certified. You have to be to use the class. If you think you don't want to become Bloomberg certified and do Bloomberg all the time, this is not going to be the class for you. You're also going to use Excel a lot. Okay? Half your grade is going to be group projects. Okay? 5 group projects starting next Wednesday. Right? I'm going to do something different this semester. Hopefully it's better. I've used it in the past. Sometimes it's worse. I'm going to let you choose your own teams. Okay? So, in people, I'm going to do this later today under project groups. I'm going to create 24 project groups, 6 per section. You're in section 301, so 3011, 3012, 3013, 3016. Okay? Between now and next Wednesday, take your name and drag it into one of those 3 section teams. You must be registered for a team in this section. I'll let you choose your own teams, up to 8 people, because we got up to 48 people, 6 times 8. 8 people can be on a team, but basically choose your own teams. If you're not in a team by next Wednesday, I'll put you in a team. Okay, so don't feel bad that you're going to get in a team, but I'm letting people who want to work together work together. Those people are going to be important because they're going to be responsible for half your grade. Okay, so I would say generally try and choose wisely. Questions about any of this? Make sense? All right, a few other things. In the group projects, as I said, there will be mandatory peer evaluations on each of the group projects. For each project, you will score their participation from 0 to 100%. You'll have to do that on everybody, including yourself, on every project. It was interesting, last semester I had a student who actually self-selected them to not fully participate in the group project. I really respected that. Okay? They said, I didn't put in 100%, and they actually reported themselves. Okay? Still lowered their grade, but nonetheless. But back to the group projects, you have to do that. Generally for a group grade, everybody gets the group grade unless the peer reviews review you down. If one person peer reviews you down, I will not change your grade. If 2 or more peer reviews peer you less than 100%, I will change your grade. Okay? So very important to make sure that you participate in the group projects. Again, the cadence for assignments are generally given out on Wednesday, due Monday at 10 a.m. Most of the assignments, if not all, will use the Bloomberg terminal. They will be based on the real world. Talked about grading. This is my YouTube channel. Again, every time, including this video, will be posted on the YouTube channel. So again, if you want to go back and review anything, it will always be there. By the way, I will put this in the announcements. Every time I have a class video, it'll be in the announcement. Easy link to the YouTube channel video for this. Textbooks, the 7th edition. Make sure you have the 7th edition. Talked about the project groups. If you don't submit a peer review for your project group, you do lose a point, and you can't opt out of the final exam. The first of the projects starts next Wednesday. It's called the Bloomberg Trading Challenge. Okay? So what's going to happen is you will decide next Wednesday on a team captain. That's going to be a very important person because they're going to be given an account on Bloomberg through their specific account, and they will trade on behalf of the entire team. And they'll be the only person that can trade on behalf of the entire team. Starting next Wednesday, your team will be given $1 million hypothetical dollars, and for the next 6 weeks, you will trade equities. At the end of that 6-week period, the team with the highest portfolio value gets an A, the team with the lowest portfolio value gets an F, and that will be 10% of your semester grade this semester. Okay, so it's just pure real world. All right. Now, what we're actually going to do is we're going to break that in half. All right. So the first 6 weeks, you'll have A to F. We'll reset after 6 weeks to $1 million, and then do it again. Okay. So if you're in last place, hopelessly losing lots of money, then you get an indulgence. Slate gets wiped clean. Second half of the semester, you can start again. But that's also why that person you choose your team captain is going to be very important, because they're the only one that can trade on behalf of the team. Okay? And if they don't trade, the team will suffer. Or worse, if they go rogue and make a lot of trades and lose a lot of money, I can't undo that. Okay? So make sure that the person that does this has the trust of the team. Okay? So they'll be responsible. But the other part of this is also true. They can't be the one doing all the work in the trading challenge. You still have to help them select the stocks that you're going to invest in each half of the semester. Okay? Grading, these is the grade distribution of 100 points. 5% is your Bloomberg certification, BMC market concepts. 40% of your grade are the 4 group presentations, EIC, historical, valuation, and multiples. 25% are 11 individual homework assignments, 1 a week, every week, starting next week, skipping spring break. Although I did put in a homework 12, which is an extra credit. Okay, so there's already an extra credit that's going to be available at the end of the semester. So let's say you completely screw up the trading challenge, finish in last place, you can do the extra credit to make up some of those points. 10% will be the midterm exam, 10% is the Bloomberg trading challenge, 5% each half of the semester, and 10% is a final exam, which the vast majority of you hopefully will be able to opt out of. Okay? So grading is based on a 100-point scale. What's very important is the grade on any actual assignment doesn't matter. One assignment doesn't matter. What we do is we add up the points across all of the assignments. So let's say you skip homework 1, you get a 0 out of 2. It's a failing grade. Okay? There's still 98 other points you can get across all the other assignments to get an A in the semester. Okay? So the point is we add up all the individual assignments, the exams, and the projects to 100 points throughout all the semester. Basically, to get an A in this class, you need 93 total points, A minus 90, B plus 87. Okay? Finance majors and accounting majors, anything below C is failing. So you need 70 is the threshold to pass the class. So essentially, I will also tell you that right now there's more than 100 points available because I added a homework 12, which puts us above 100 points. And I'll remind you throughout the semester, but ELMS will start to confuse you because ELMS was never designed to have a class with more than 100 points. It's the way I tend to grade. So ELMS near the end of the semester will underrepresent your grade. So let's say that there's 103 points now available with the extra credit in ELMS. ELMS will say 90 divided by 103, that'll give you a B plus. Okay, it's a percentage. I don't do that. Last day of class, I export the grade book, I go to Excel, I sum. I sum all the points and all the assignments. 90 points out of 103 is an A minus. Okay, so again, just FYI. Right? Final opportunity, attendance policy we talked about. Honor code. Please follow the honor code. I hate sending people to the honor council because when you get an XF and you can't graduate, your parents tend to blame me, not you. They blame me, and I don't like being blamed for your failings. Okay, so if you want to be Claudine Gray, whatever her name is, the Harvard person, and basically screw up and plagiarize everything and get fired from your job, have at it. Okay, but don't blame me for that when I send you to the honor council and they catch you for plagiarism, because it's easy to catch you for plagiarism. The most common way you're going to go to the honor council for plagiarism is that every paper you submit, and you're going to submit a lot of 500-word papers, is going to be submitted through a service called Turnitin. And what Turnitin does is it matches your paper against a pretty big database, and it looks for matches. And by the way, the database includes the current assignments. So if there's 180 people turning in 180 papers for this assignment, you're going to be matched against those papers too. Okay? And if your Turnitin score is 30% or higher, you're going to the honor council. Now, if you know you can see your Turnitin score. So 30% means that 30% of your paper matches something else word for word. Okay? It's not just words random, it's literally word for word. And when you go to the Honor Council with 30% or more, word for word, you don't have much of a case. Okay? And so that's the point. I'm going to send you, and you're not going to like what happens to you. So don't do it. It's not worth it. All right? Now, here's the most important thing. You get word for word. You copy and pasted from something else. Increasingly, ChatGPT could send you to the Honor Council. I tell you not to use ChatGPT. It can't stop you from doing it. But if you copy and paste from ChatGPT, and it's flagged in the Turnitin database that somebody else had the same answer, you're going to get sent to the Honor Council. And it's going to be bad for you because they take plagiarism much more seriously than Harvard does at the school. So basically, don't do it. Okay? And here's the thing. You're going to have to use other sources to answer questions in this class. You're going to be working on real companies you're not going to know much about, which means you're going to be looking at analyst reports and industry reports and Bloomberg's BICO. And you might copy and paste footnotes. If you copy and paste and there's quotation marks in a footnote, you're not going to the Honor Council. If you bibliography something that looks summarized, you're not going to the Honor Council. You tend to go to the Honor Council when you don't have a footnote, you don't have a bibliography, and you use somebody else's work. That's plagiarism. We take that seriously at this university. Don't do it. Okay? All right. Next, Course Assistant's website, same thing. Can't use Course Hero or similar sites to basically, my battery's about to die, to do previous work in previous semesters to help you do the current semester's work. That is not allowed. Okay. Late assignment policy, kind of told you about that already. It's pretty straightforward. We just don't do late assignments. They just won't be graded. So make sure if you're going to have a late assignment, have an extension or deadline before the deadline is due, or have something seriously wrong. Course evaluations, please fill out. If you have any special needs, again, please let me know. You're on a sports team, ADS, etc. We'll try and be as flexible as we can with those accommodations. And then finally, I just want to talk about the final exam opt-out. Basically, you can opt out and not have to take the final exam and get 10 points if you don't have more than one unexcused absence throughout the semester, if you also don't have less than 50% on any individual assignment in terms of a grade, if you also have a 60% or greater on your midterm exam, and if you don't have any peer reviews negative on your group projects, and you aren't sent to the Honor Council. So if you meet all that criteria, on May 6th, the TAs will look at all that, and they will tell you whether you can opt out. If you're able to opt out, they'll just give you 10 points. If you can't opt out, you'll have to take the final exam on Monday, May 8th, which is the last day of class. So we don't use the exam period. Final exams are this class. And then finally, I have something called the assignment replacement. What that represents for the assignment replacement is basically an indulgence. So let's say for some reason you didn't do homework 3, and homework 3 is worth 2 points. You got a 0 on it. Not only do you have a 0, but you have to now take the final exam, and you're pretty unhappy. You write the assignment paper, assignment replacement paper, which is 500 words. We'll then take your homework 3, we'll give you 2 points, and we'll treat it as you turned it in on time. So any individual assignment can be replaced with the assignment replacement. One assignment, one time. You can write that paper anytime between now and May 2nd. Okay, so you don't have to write it immediately. So if you have more than one assignment, you're worried about, like, let's say I just didn't get the grade I wanted on an assignment. It was a 4-point assignment. I only got 2 points. I like the other 2 points. Do the assignment replacement. We'll give you 4 points on that assignment. Or it's like an assignment I just don't feel like doing. Assignment replacement, replace it. So you have one that you could use throughout the semester. So your opportunity to better your grade is the assignment replacement and or the extra credit that I'm giving you throughout the semester. All right, I know that was a lot. Questions? Yes?
So you said the group that comes in first gets an A and the one that comes in last gets an F. What about like everyone in between?
So what's actually going to happen is there's 6 teams in this class. So the grade distribution will be 5 points for first place, 4 points for second and third place, 3 points for fourth place, 2 points fifth place, 1 point sixth place. So that's the 5-point distribution. Yes?
Can assignment replacement help us with that?
No, the assignment replacement does not replace exams, and it does not replace group projects. So that's what I'm saying. And the group project, there will be people in this class that get 1 or 2 points. I'll still let you opt out of the final exam because it's kind of like a forced ranking, even if you perform poorly in the trading challenge, so long as you participate in the trading challenge. If you don't participate in the trading challenge, your team member said, we didn't do it, then you're not going to be able to opt out of the final exam and your grade will be lowered. Other questions? Okay. So as I said, a lot of what you're going to do is going to be based on using the Bloomberg Professional tool. So unfortunately, the reason I mentioned the certification is that for whatever reason, IT decided to wipe out all of the software on all of these machines with a fresh image over winter break. And each one of the Bloomberg terminals, software programs, has a unique serial number, which is tied to these computers in this lab. They wiped them all out. So no one can access Bloomberg on any of the terminals in this lab. Sent an email earlier today to IT. They're going to start working on them tonight, and by Monday, probably by tomorrow, but by Monday, they're going to reinstall the serial numbers. So right now, you can't actually log into the Bloomberg terminals. That's why I moved the deadline from homework 1 from Monday to Wednesday, because originally you had to get into Bloomberg to do homework 1. Since you can't do that, I've moved the deadline to next Wednesday. Okay, so that's why right now you can start the certification at home, okay, but you can't actually log into the terminals until either later in this week or on Monday. Okay, so the terminals are just software now. It used to be physical contraptions back in the 80s, but it's just evolved and now it's just software. On these computers in this lab, the software has this icon called Bloomberg. Okay, we have 60 terminals at the school. 32 of them are in this lab. The other big batch terminals are on the first floor. There's a computer lab that also has like 10 or 12 terminals down there. The problem with that computer lab down there is it's always full. It's got a lot of students in it. So, did anybody see the movie Fight Club? What's the first rule of Fight Club?
Don't talk about Fight Club.
Don't talk about Fight Club. Okay. First rule of 443, don't talk about this lab. Okay. Now this lab is supposed to be open to any student, any faculty member, any PhD student, but the more people that know about it, it's worse for you. Okay? Because we have 182 students trying to use these 32 terminals. And when your friends start hearing about it, start coming in here, it will interfere with your ability to use it. So I know the university probably is going to frown on me saying this, and this is now on YouTube, but like I said, it's not in your interest to let everybody know about this. I'm telling you, the faculty and the PhD students know about it. They come in here, and we're already using it. More students in here just makes your life more miserable. All right, now 11 to 5, Monday, Wednesday, this is our class. There are a couple of other classes throughout the week that are in here, but most of the other time, this lab is open. That door unlocks at 8 a.m., auto locks at 5. If you're in the lab after 5, it won't kick you out. If somebody's in here and lets you in after 5, you can get in, but it does auto lock and your swipe key won't work at 5 o'clock. Okay, so it's 8 to 5 during the week. Now, technically, it should also be open on weekends, but IT is inconsistent about whether there's somebody in here in the weekends. So generally, for your homework assignments, I'd recommend using the terminals, getting your data Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay, that's your best opportunities. Don't wait till Sunday night to try and get the data, and then the lab's locked, and you can't get into school because you won't be able to do your assignments for Monday morning. Okay, so how do you get to the terminal? You click on the software on one of these desks, and then you'll have to have an account. And just for fun, Bloomberg decided to update right as I was trying to log in. So it's going to take a minute or two for it to finish its update. And unfortunately, this is the one I did in the video, and Bloomberg has decided to do this. All right, so while it's doing its update, I can't get in. You can't get in either. So let me tell you what I was going to try and show you. When you click on the software and log in, you'll see a screen, which I'll show you hopefully in a minute, which allows you to type in your username and password. For the vast majority right now of you, you won't have a username and password. At the bottom of that screen, bottom left-hand corner, it says create a new account. So you click on that link to create a new account. Okay, it's pretty simple, takes 3 minutes. You'll type in your name, you'll choose a username, which is not an email, so mine is J Perfetti, okay? And then it'll basically ask you to put in a phone number, cell phone preferably, or an email account, could be any email address. It's then gonna ask you, when you hit that next screen, to send you a code, 6 digits, to that phone number, text message, or email account. You'll type in that code. It'll then bring you to another screen where you'll choose a password, and then you have an account, right? And so once you have that account, you'll be able to log into any Bloomberg terminal on campus. And again, there's 60 of them that you could potentially log into, right? Now, once you've logged in to the terminal, then you'll be able to do the work. But as I said, you don't need a login to become Bloomberg certified. So you can start the certification outside the terminal. But by next week, you really need to have a terminal account. All right, so it finished its software update, and this is the main screen. All right, so down here, create a new login. That's what I just talked about. And then after you create a new login, basically I was going to try and show you the process. There it is. Creating an account for myself, don't have a terminal login. Next, name, login name, phone number, email address. Next, choose password. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, so here's the key. As long as you log in once every 30 days, you will maintain the account. After 30 days, your account will become locked. You'll have to call Bloomberg to unlock the account. Okay? If you're calling as a Maryland student, they'll unlock it. As long as you're in this lab, they assume you're a Maryland student. So anybody that creates an account in the lab just gets an account. It's a nice privilege that we have at the university. Once you have an account, you'll log in. So again, I'm J Perfetti. And then I'll type in my password. Now you won't have this, but I have two-factor authentication. And the reason why is there's 2 people at the university that have the ability to use the software outside the lab. I am one of them. The other is Professor Kroenke, okay, runs the SEMBIT Fund. We're it. Nobody else can access it outside the lab. Everybody else has to access the terminals physically in a lab on campus. Ironically, during COVID, they withdrew that prohibition, and all of the students in this class could access it remote at home. And that was really cool. And then last semester, they took that away from us. They declared COVID over, and they said, nope, you'll go back to the lab again. So we have the ability to do that, but they don't let us do that. And by the way, if we ever tried to do like remote login software, it literally would void our entire license. We'd forfeit all the money we paid for them, and they'd take away all of our serial numbers. So the university is pretty tough about trying to remotely log into Bloomberg. Don't do it either. All right. So back to this. So when you come in, the interface, as I said, is a little hard to use because it was created in the 80s, and it hasn't adjusted much because a lot of people in Wall Street basically been using these terminals for 40 years, and they don't like change. So if I'm at Goldman Sachs and I have a way that I do all my work in workflow, I don't want to change that workflow, and I want all the screens to do what they're supposed to do. So they're kind of averse to change. So Bloomberg's averse to change. So it's not that they can't change the interface, it's that their customers don't want them to. So they tried to make some incremental progress. The top row of Bloomberg is kind of like a Google search bar. There's 36,000 screens. Usually you get to them by a 2, 3, or 4-digit letter code. You just type it in the top row, it'll bring you to the screen. Or you get, it's now more Google search-like. So for example, I could say price of oil, and this will give me a screen with real-time oil prices, which right now is $75.17 a barrel. And then I can click on something else to go anywhere else. Or I can do yield on 10-year Treasury. And so this will give me the real-time yield on the 10-year Treasury, which right now is 4.18%. Okay, so that's one way to do this. All right, but I have other screens that I'll do. And I'll give you a few of them we're going to use this semester. TOP is top news. This is real-time feeds from the news wires. Okay, so you'll actually get news on here before it'll show up on like CNN or Yahoo News or any of the other sites, including the Wall Street Journal. And by the way, they have all the feeds. So like I said, you don't need a subscription to the Wall Street Journal. It's actually here, or Financial Times or any other site. So they use a little bit of an algorithm to kind of get what the top news is, but these are just real-time information that are coming through on the site. And so again, pages of stories. Now, in the last class, one of the pieces of news that came across, see if I can find it, featured stories. All right. So I can search Spirit in featured stories. And here was the news item that came across the news wire at 9:38 this morning. So anybody familiar with that Boeing plane that had a problem a couple weeks ago? What happened? Yeah.
Wait, is it the one that like the door fell off?
The door blew off mid-flight, 10,000 feet in the Alaska Airlines. Fortunately, nobody died, but they defined it as a mechanical defect. Now, who got blamed for this? Not just Boeing. Who else got blamed? Spirit. Why did Spirit get blamed? Because they actually manufactured the plane as a subcontractor for Boeing. So Boeing subbed out to them to actually make the fuselage. And they're the ones that were blamed initially, besides Boeing, for the incorrect door because it wasn't correctly attached. They didn't basically screw the bolts in tight enough. So, and then they grounded all the 737 MAX 9s, and United Airlines had to inspect their planes, and they found a bunch of planes with loose bolts. So through today, the 737 MAX 9 is not flying. And there's like 87 planes that are grounded. In fact, United got pissed off, and yesterday in their earnings call said, we're canceling all of our future 737-10s from Boeing and finding another plane because you guys can't get your quality act straight. In fact, 737 MAX is the plane that crashed a few years ago, killed a bunch of people, and was grounded for a year and a half because of faulty software. So lots of quality problems at Boeing. Anyways, short version of the story. Today, apparently according to this news headline, Spirit Aerosystems was cleared of the responsibility of the problem, and they said it wasn't our fault, it was Boeing's fault. Okay? Now, that's probably going to affect Spirit's stock price because they're a publicly traded company. So if we go here and we can either click on the company, but here's Spirit Aerosys. We can get their, that's their supplier list. Sorry, different screen. But if we go to their ticker symbol is SPR, so either type in SPR, or I can type in Spirit. At the top half of the screen is kind of like the Google search criteria. The bottom half of the screen is where you get the security information. SPR is their ticker symbol, Spirit Airlines. SAVE is the other Spirit, which is the one that JetBlue's trying to buy. I got confused in the last class about the two. So don't go to that one. But SPR, US means it's a US stock, it's listed on the US exchange. And then equity is the equity. Corp is fixed income. All right, we're not going to do a lot of fixed income in this class, but if you want to look at it, Corp is fixed income. So I go to SPR US equity, and I can see their share price today went up $1.92. Okay, and so one of the features of Bloomberg is I can hit GP to graph the price, and this is their stock price default to a year. And if I want, I'll look at the last 3 days. So I can see this is what happened this morning when the news came out to their share price. So they traded up, right? And a nice feature of this is I can click on key events, and Bloomberg will overlay key events and news items. Like I'll go to a 5-year view to show you this a better sign. So I can basically see some key either news or earnings reports or analyst reports, and I can go click on that and see what happened on that day. as to why it might move the stock up or down over time. I can also, which says related data over here, let's say ROIC is going to be a key metric in this class. I type in ROIC, and it will overlay their reported ROIC to the stock price graph over the last 5 years. Okay, so again, it's a very powerful tool to kind of understand kind of more technical analysis, what's happening with a company. Okay, that is called GP. Right now, the other company we looked at today that had news this morning is a company called Netflix. And sorry, my mouse is having trouble today. And FLX. Today, Netflix share price is up $58 a share. Okay? So, in case you're curious, another screen is called EVT, which is the company event calendar. This will be all corporate events, including earnings calls. Netflix had an earnings call last night, 4:45, January 23rd. One of the nice features of Bloomberg is it listens to every earnings call using machine learning. It literally transcribes it in real time. So if I click on this is a transcript of the Netflix earnings call from last night, which is searchable and downloadable. Okay? And so like I said, if an earnings call is happening, you can literally click on this. You don't have to listen to the call. You can literally watch the transcript build in real time as the call is going on. Okay? And so essentially, on the earnings call, Netflix basically said we had better than expected quarter, and we're expecting even better subscriber numbers going forward. And so basically the Wall Street people got excited about that and raised their share price. By the way, another screen in here that we're going to use a lot is called EEO. Stands for earnings estimates. These are the consensus estimates of what earnings are being expected for Netflix for the last 4 years. This column is last year's actual. These are the next 4 years' forecast, which are created by the Wall Street analysts. So I can switch this from annual data to quarterly data. Okay? So here's what happened on yesterday's earnings call. This column for December 23rd, 23, is what the analysts were expecting Netflix to do. This column is what they reported yesterday. So a lot of the earnings call was just comparing actual versus forecast. So for example, I'll try to make this a little bit bigger. Wall Street was expecting $8.7 billion in revenue for the quarter. They reported $8.83. Wall Street was expecting $223 of earnings. They reported $230. Wall Street was expecting EBITDA of $1.4 billion. They reported $1.583 billion. Wall Street was expecting free cash flow of $1.26 billion. They reported $1.58 billion. They pretty much beat every metric. And what these green arrows represent is the analysts then went in that call and they revised their forecast up for the rest of the year. That's why their share price went up $58 today. Transparently, I own Netflix personally on my own personal portfolio. I'm very excited about this. So, long story short, earnings estimate overview, EEO. All these screens that I'm showing you, that's why you're getting certified, to kind of learn what's there, right, as part of the Bloomberg certification. Right? Now, when we look at this, there's two parts of the people that are very important in Netflix share price. One's called the buy side, the other's called the sell side. When I say buy side, who am I referring to? Yep.
Hedge funds, asset management.
And why are they called the buy side?
Because they're the ones who, invest in companies.
Well, actually, no, they actually invest in the companies themselves. They buy the stock. They're called the buy side because they literally buy and own the stock. It's the institutional investors of a company that are called the buy side. You can see who they are in Bloomberg, HDS or OWN. Those are the two short codes, get you the same place. HDS, holders. This will give you a scrollable list of all of Netflix's institutional investors, from biggest to smallest. The reason that's important is 85.68% of Netflix shareholders are institutions on this list. Their biggest shareholder is Vanguard. Vanguard owns 36.2 million shares of stock, which is 8.28% of Netflix company. Second biggest shareholder is Capital Group, which owns 7.24%. BlackRock is their third biggest shareholder at 6.85%. FMR is Fidelity, which owns 5.1%. State Street is the employee trust, 3.7%. Their top 5 shareholders: 8, 15, 22, 27, 30 to 31% of Netflix stock are those 5 institutions. All right? And this is pretty typical of most publicly traded companies. Like, there's a very few companies which tend to own much of the shares of a company's stock. They're very important because, number one, they don't buy and sell 100 shares of stock. You can see that their transactions are like 8 million shares, 55,000 shares. Like, they're buying big groups and blocks of stock. They're the price setters. Number two, they all went to Wall Street after going to business school. They've learned everything you're going to learn this semester, and this is how they're evaluating companies and performance on a cash flow basis. Okay? So, nonetheless, this is very, very important. This is actually one of the most used screens in Bloomberg. You work in investor relations at a company, you live here every day because you want to know who your owners are and whether there's any change. Because you don't want to see Carl Icahn show up in your top 10 shareholders. All right? The guy's in his late 80s. He's not going to be around here for 20 years. All right? He's a vulture. He wants 6 months change, and then he's out to find the next victim. So that's the point. Who owns your company? This is where you'll see. Second important group is called the sell side. All right? Challenge that the buy side has, let's say you get hired by BlackRock, you manage a $10 billion fund. Okay? It's an active fund, which means you can choose what stocks you want to own. Okay? So you're like almost like a hedge fund. So here's the point. I have 50 stocks in my portfolio in all different industries because I got to be diversified. How do I keep track of 50 companies in all the industries globally against all their competitors on a daily basis? And the answer is I can't. There's too much going on. So what Wall Street does is they spend $4 billion a year from the buy side paying another group of people called the sell side to tell them what to do. So the sell-siders don't own the stock. They're specialists in industries that are hired by the buy side to tell them what to do. Now, eventually, these people are all going to be replaced by artificial intelligence. All right? But right now, the sell-siders are human beings that are writing the research. Those sell-siders can be seen ANR. These are the sell-siders for a company in Bloomberg. Once you go to a company, ANR, sell-side research. So for Netflix, it's going to be Brian Pitts of BMO Capital Markets, Brian Kraft of Deutsche Bank, Benjamin Swinburne of Morgan Stanley, Eric Sheridan, Goldman Sachs, Douglas Anmuth of JP Morgan, etc. Okay, you can scroll through the list. Okay? These are the ones that are writing coverage of the companies. They're writing the buy, sell, hold opinions. The buy, sell, hold opinions are not for you and me. The buy, sell, hold opinions are for the institution. BlackRock hires Brian Kraft of Deutsche Bank to say, what should I do with Netflix? And if Brian Kraft says, hold it, don't actually buy any more shares, then they're going to listen to this news and they're not going to add to their portfolio, despite the jump. Now, if I bought the research from BMO, Brian Pitts said, today, January 24th, buy more. Okay? So again, slightly different analyst perspective, but that's the next thing. If the analyst isn't right over time, I'm not going to buy their research. I'm going to go find somebody else. So it's kind of competitive, right? So that's one thing they do. They write the research reports. You're going to learn how to write one later this semester. Second, they also set up target prices. This is where they think the stock price is going to trade 12 months from today. All of them have their 12-month target stock prices. In the valuation section of the class, you're going to learn how to create target stock prices. Bloomberg averages the target stock prices. The average 12-month target stock price of the analyst today, $5.53. Right now, Netflix is at $5.51. That means there's 0.5% upside in the next 12 months. And last 12 months through this morning, it's up 51.4. So what Wall Street's saying is, you've had a great run. We're not so sure it's going to go too much higher in the short term. Now, buy, sell, holds, long term, 38 long-term buys. Buys are worth 5 points. 17 of these people call them a long-term hold. Holds are worth 3 points. 5 say get out of Netflix, sell now, take your money and run. Those are worth 1 point. On a 5-point scale, Netflix is a 4.05 long-term. So they're still fairly bullish long-term about Netflix, though not as much because this number's gone down slightly, probably because the stock price went up $58 today. Okay? But nonetheless, you have access to the information. By the way, if we want to see Brian at Deutsche Bank, this is the coverage universe of his team. The average sell-side analyst covers 16 companies, 10 to 16 companies. 24 companies is a very big coverage universe because they got to know a lot about every one of these companies. Now, they're all in the one vertical, but they basically are specialists in 24 companies. The average sell-side team chooses who they want to cover. Okay, so they've chosen a bigger universe. The average team is 3 people. It'll be Brian, it'll be an MBA in finance, it'll be an undergrad in finance. Because it's 24 people, they might have an extra MBA or an extra undergrad, but these are usually 3 or 4 person teams. Okay, so that's the point. They're specialists in these companies. They write research. You click on research. These are their research opinions. Now, we have access to Deutsche Bank as part of our $25,000 a year subscription, but it's delayed. Okay, but nonetheless, he did write something about them this morning. Or actually, no, he wrote about EchoStar this morning. I don't see anything here about this company. But the point is, you can get access to some of the research here. I say some, because if you go to the Goldman Sachs analyst and you click on research, the screen will be blank. Because we don't pay for the Goldman research, so you can't see it. Okay, that's beyond the subscription price. Anyways, another screen in here is called the bio. So if you want to know a little bit more about Brian, this is information about Brian. So he works in New York in Columbus Circle. That's his office phone number. And more importantly, that green dot means he is logged into the terminal right now. We can IM him. And because this is a system of record, he will likely respond. Okay? He'll find out you're a student and probably block you, but at least the first time, they're going to talk to you because usually the people on the system are system of record people. He might think you're another broker trader, so he's going to talk to you the first time. I say that off the record. Bloomberg has a screen called POP. In POP, it's every registered user for Bloomberg in the world, which means you have access to every person on Wall Street's personal email address, phone number, and can IM them in real time. Now, if I were looking for a job and I wanted to work for Deutsche Bank, I might take a flyer and say, hey, Brian, I'm a student, here's my resume. You might say no, but you never know, okay? Matter of fact, you can also do a search and say, show me everyone at Goldman Sachs that's a University of Maryland graduate. And I can find fellow Terps that got into Goldman and say, hey, fellow Terp from Goldman, any chance you can help me find a way in? I'm not saying officially you can do this, because if Bloomberg finds out we're doing this en masse, they might shut us down, because it's not meant for recruiting software. But nonetheless, you have access to every person on Wall Street's contact information through here and can IM them when they're online. Anyways, back to this. The other thing his team is doing, which we're going to learn how to do, is they create spreadsheets forecasting a valuation model of Netflix. Bloomberg is where they upload all the spreadsheets. Okay? So over here on the right, it's loading, these are all the spreadsheets of all those analysts forecasting Netflix. Now you'll notice this little lock, okay? Because this Webbush spreadsheet of Alicia Reese is locked because you got to pay for it. Okay, so this is the extras beyond the $25,000. But that's the point. I can actually download their models and see what they say about Netflix. These are the models you're going to learn how to build. Back to final part. What Bloomberg does do is they take all the uploaded spreadsheets and they do aggregate the data. So, for multiple periods, based on the spreadsheets that are uploaded today, here is subscriber additions. And revenue forecast through 2028. So Netflix is going to go from $38 billion in revenue in 2024 to $51.6 billion by 2028. They basically are going to add only 13 million subscribers by that time. So the subscriber ads, which are going to slow down, although they will increase, or be higher, I should say, at least in Europe. And I could go here and look at paid membership, average money paid per member. All this stuff is forecast in detail, all right, because they're doing bottoms-up forecast, they're not just doing top-line forecast. And so again, all of this is summarized EEO. This is the summary of all the models. So as I started the section today, this is the next 4 years of what Wall Street expects financially from Netflix with granular detail. Okay? And I have shown you 1/100th of 1% of what's available in Bloomberg today. Okay? There's a lot here, right? So I'm just telling you, big learning curve, but we've got a pot of gold here that's very valuable to use as a real world tool. The entire class is going to be a Bloomberg. Okay? It's going to involve work, starting with the certification. So for you, for between now and next week, a few things. Number one, get the book, start reading. Okay? 7th edition. Number two, put yourself on a team by next Wednesday. First training challenge starts on Wednesday. So need teams on Wednesday. Number three, start the certification. You got 3 weeks to do it, but it never hurts to get started. You don't need to log in. On Monday's class, you will need to actually create your accounts on Monday and start doing homework homework 1, which is going to be due on Wednesday. Any other questions? Okay. Have a good weekend. See you guys on Monday.